Okay, picking up exactly where we left off. First thing first, I paused this right after some other shit. You mean we kill this mob? That's all that happened, right? This guy patrols. He patrols in from deep. You kill him when he's close. That starts the run. Boom, ready to go. Next thing that's happening is you've got these 4 Aboms. These are pretty similar to the Draconids in BWL. You can see this go down. Melee are going to want to FAP here. So we need to spread them out to max range. You can double stack a couple of them, especially because we're killing so fucking fast. We're gonna get good damage here on like moon and square, right? Or actually, it was diamond. Let's go back 10 seconds. It was diamond and X, right? Diamond and X got destroyed super fast. My POV is not amazing. There's my face, right? Boom. So you get some precasts. Ranged and healers are staying at least 25 yards off of these things because they have. And let's pause and take a look at the melee's health. They have something that's going to just AoE cleave like a Draconid's ground stomp, except it hits for 2k. You want to FAP. So that's it. You spread these mobs out. There's 4 of them to kill. You can go 4 corners if you're feeling scared. You'll probably only kill 2 or 3 inside of your FAP time if you do that. But whatever. Spread them out. Boom. As ranged, you really, really, really have to respect the range on these mobs. If somebody rips aggro like some fucking caster, you move back. You absolutely move back because you're not FAP'd and you're going to get rocked for not being FAP'd and taking that AoE cleave. So you'll see here actually we pull the ones on the left side. There's another 4-pack, same thing. This ledge is actually LOS, so there's some nuance to making sure that you let them walk into the door before you start going hard. But here we go 4 corners, right? It works out pretty well. Casters are just standing in the center. I'm sorry for my shit FPS here, but it is what it is. Casters are turning in the center. Melee are working their way around the room. It doesn't really matter where you go. You run up to something, debuff it, kill it. If you chose to, you could, since it's early content, you might not be that comfortable. You're probably not going to have FAP for both of these, right? So maybe you could rotate tank FAPs for those 4 tanks just so that, you don't need a backup tank as much because there is a threat drop to the knockback. Or you could just blast. Or you could wait 2 minutes. Your choice. So there's another pack on the right side. Same shit. You can see here we actually couldn't really decide. I guess it was sort of a split decision between are we coming back into the room or not. You can see how much people respect the range. The ranged and the healers will really move back if shit is looking sketchy. But in the end, we got it stabilized in the room, so we moved into the room. And that was cool. Not a really progression strat thing to do. A lot of damage going out, I guess, onto the melee. I mean, it doesn't look that bad, right? But if your damage weren't good onto these mobs, it would get sketchy really fast. In the center is a bunch of fucking little squiddy dudes, gelatin guys, right? There's a triple pack. They're dead already, actually, at this point. You'll see them dead on the floor at some point. Oh, there they are, right there. So these guys spawn every time Grobulus, who is upstairs. I don't think I look at him at any point, but he'd be upstairs from, if I looked up in this POV at this point. He throws 3 more into the center of the room. So you want to mind vision at some point or just have super fast kill speed like we do here where you know that he's like a 3-minute patrol timer or something like that. So these are going to respawn in 3 minutes, the center mobs. Another pack of these A-bombs, same, whatever. You can precast really hard. If you're fresh to it, you can get a nice clean pull timer and you can have 10 spells landing at once, 15 spells, and it'll be really, really great. You'll delete skulls super fast. No problems here. So now we go into, so there's a pause here. So just some context for this pack. They can be taunted by any sort of threat or whatever, but they have an aura that does a shit ton of damage. You don't want to get into melee range at all. You shouldn't taunt them. I think you could probably tank it with heals if you felt like you had to, but it's dumb. You don't get in melee range of these packs at all. You want to be handling it with range tools, NG, AoE, whatever, right? So the general idea is to push all your casters over to one side. Left or right is fine. I guess we chose right here. We've done left in the past, though. And so we're just AoEing the door. They're kind of like technicians, except they're slow, lumbering nonsense, right? They each have their own individual threat table. Anybody who gets too close will definitely die. You can see Kui takes a little bit of damage. How close could he possibly be, right? He's probably in 10, 15 yards. I can probably tell you that with batching, this will feel terrible. If you chance it, if you're trying to be an asshole, it'll either go your way, you'll blink away from what looks like it absolutely should have killed you and you'll take no damage, or you'll be a yard too close and you're going to go to dead just because you're going to get hit by all of them. I'm not sure. I think classic batching will be unforgiving here, so I wouldn't really chance how close you get to these. There's a lot of AoE tools that are good here aside from Dynamite. What do you call it? Fucking the helm from Nomuragon, Ultra Gigaflux Reflector or whatever hat. You can actually see, let's move back a little bit because steps starts, yeah, there it is right there. So right here, boom, those zaps that come out, boom, 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 boom. Those are Gigaflux hats. A couple people were clever enough to get them on for the last Abom pack. I certainly didn't. And they're able to zap them. It's a fat AoE. I bet they did like minimum 5k with those zaps, especially because all the mobs were still alive. So here you really respect whatever. There's another patrol. All the big A-bombs have the same fucking theme. They knock melee up and back. They do a big damage when they do that, and you kind of want to respect their ranged as a ranged clothy. And that's it. You see another one. Boom. The plague respawns in the room that we just killed also happen at some point. I don't know the timer. I don't know if it's linked to the RP of Grobulus or some shit. I have no clue. Whatever. So here you see your first slime pit coming up. So slime is interesting. When you come out of slime after having been in slime, you get to really low HP. So you can see Harrington here, he went in the slime and he came out, and if he had energy, it would be low. If he had rage, it would also be low. If he had mana, it would also be low. So it kind of sucks for mana users, but you can also see we blinked it. The priests used levitate on it. Some people, I think night elves actually have an easier time of jumping it because the, I don't know, slightly bigger character model. You can do giant growth. On these private servers, you could do deviates. I don't know if that'll work on Classic or not, but you can see I'm in a fucking Savory Deviate for sure because I'm a gnome character. You can definitely jump this one. Some of them are harder to jump. Slow fall is cool. Noggin slow fall is also cool, aside from just deviate costumes. Yeah. So every time you see slime, you want to either commit to getting across it without having taken any ticks, or you want to... So you see over here right now, boom. So there's two people over here in the slime. Obviously, they're fucking disconnecting or doing something nonsensical, right? If somehow, by some miracle, we had ass pulled a bunch of mobs that had just from our back arrived and showed up here, like right on top of Kofex and Rightmate, right? These people have to commit to staying inside of the slime for the duration of whatever happens, because they are full HP right now. So this is Big Panda. Where is he? He's right here, group 3, right? Full HP. He's not going to jump down to this HP level, the post-slime HP level, until he actually leaves the slime. While he's still in the slime, he's going to be full HP. So whatever happens, if you get an ass pull while you're in slime, the people who are in slime, you're stuck there. You have to stay in slime, because otherwise you're going to walk out, you're going to be this level of HP, there's going to be some sort of knockback that comes out from probably an A-bomb, and then you're dead. Boom, instantly, right? Dead on the floor. Luckily, no bullshit happens like that. So we don't have to worry. Here now we're looking at these AoE packs on the right. What we're looking to do is precast, and we're going to be killing everybody who can participate in the precast will from max range, nice and disciplined. We're going to kill the big guy, and we're going to go into everybody of the warriors has, I believe there are 8 taunts assigned. There's also a taunt assigned for the big one, and there's an AoE taunt assigned in the beginning as well. So after this guy dies to our precast, we're going to start max AoEing as casters. We're going to use Strat Holy Water here. This is a big Strat Holy Water moment. People have talked about pulling multiple packs in this room with Petri and then holy watering the whole thing. I think that's an interesting concept, but probably won't work because you'll see as we go, one of the biggest threats is these lightning totems that some of the mad scientists will create. So here we kill the living monstrosity. Living monstrosity just gets rocked by the precast. There's an AoE taunt. We go hard, AoE, AoE, AoE. So you can see mad scientists in here. Mad scientists can spawn an item or a fucking NPC or whatever called a lightning totem, and that thing just kind of spams out chain lightnings, and it does a lot of damage. It will definitely kill people, or at the very least, on this server, it was murderous for sure. So if we did happen to get a lightning totem, the melee at this point actually have a macro that works in a target lightning totem into their bloodthirst or whatever the fuck it is that they're doing, and they're prioritizing it at like a significantly higher level than any of these mobs, kind of like the way you might a lasher in AQ4 in trash packs, right? You see it, you need to get rid of it immediately because it's going to start fucking with you very badly. On these first 2 packs, we were clean, we killed them fast enough, and we hit the DPS check to prevent a totem from being spawned at all, which is the goal, and that's the point of the precast in the first place. If you're failing to... If you get a good precast, and then you still fail to hit the DPS checks, either people are wimping out of their AoE, or and they're scared because they're worried about the taunts, or people are not just delivering what they should be doing over an AoE pack. Like, no dynamites, no holy waters, no whirlwinds, no sunders. I don't know, whatever it is. Figure that out. Again, it's a micro thing. I don't care about your micro problems. This is macro. So AoE here, try not to Aspel the other one, or do, your choice. But if you're a mage, be careful that you're not AoEing as that fresh mob comes in with no threat on it. You can see a couple, on my raid frames, a couple mages end up getting threat. And he's got a threat on a mad scientist, which is kind of normal, just from max AoEing. But you really want to be careful. I've definitely actually lost my buffs doing this at one point, where we were just AoEing haphazardly on one of these packs. Abom walks in, I slam out an arcane explosion, right as he walks in, and he cracks me in the head, and I'm dead on the fucking floor. So that's no good. Got a shit holy water. You can see I hit only 3 targets with that holy water instead of 9, which definitely want to be mindful of. Holy water has a pretty small radius, so holy water is big here if you do it right. It hits for a fuckload, but your mileage may vary, So here comes another Abo pull. Great. And then when we get to this point, actually some awkward shit happens with this run so the private server meta was not full run. It didn't really start with trash when it came to speed runs. People felt that it was more important to do full boss runs. So the timer started when you kill the first boss or when you pull the first boss, whatever. And so here we didn't, because this guy Cuckoo has been DC'd for a little bit because he got locked out from trying his character too many times. So that's unfortunate. So we can skip ahead here, I guess, at some point. And then we have some lovely expletive language that I'll figure something out about, I don't know, getting it out, but let's see. We're going to put an OSRS thing right here. That's how we do it. What's this timer? 16:53 it looks like. So we'll go there. We're going to pause. Oop. Put room light back. And we'll just watch this. People come in. Yikes, of course. Room light back. Oh, Patchwork is just dead. Yeah, you can't really... sometimes the gems of private servers are tough to hide. Cool. So, Patchwork is pulled. On the pull, notice there's a shield wall. This is because there's a good chance that he's expecting to get both a melee and then a hateful strike immediately. This is just the coding of the boss. If that happens, you're fucked. You just lost your main tank immediately. So, this is even at the highest level where we're feeling the most confident with this fight as a fucking trash nonsense fight that just falls over instantly. We're still committing the shield wall there because that's the level of stability it offers. Also because we're expecting to one-shot, and we know that that's not going to be a waste of a shield wall. So this should be a pretty long fight. Even by current standards, this is a long fight. There's a lot of HP. We're doing a shit ton of damage, so the fact that it lives this long is kind of nuts. You have to ignite properly. You had to manage your HP as a melee. So you can see on the raid frames, quick pause before we fucking kill this thing, all of the melee are low HP. This is because Hateful Strike would only, at the time, target based on your current health. Right, so now apparently on Classic there's a different behavior. Again, I don't really know. All I can tell you here is that your goal is tank Hateful Strikes. Right, in this situation, the tanks in groups 1 through 3 are the ones who are tanking Hateful Strikes. So you have Myosin with consistent threat. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And then you have Skarm and you have Vex tanking Hateful Strikes, getting smacked every now and then. Which go out really often, and they need a shit ton of healing. And the only healing in the fight that needs to be done is on these 3 tanks. So all of the healers you have are targeting one of those tanks, and they're pumping pretty hard. Actually, the main tank itself will not take that much damage. Myosin, in this case, isn't really getting that destroyed by Patchwork. It's the Hateful Strike tanks that end up doing a lot more. So it could be that, if we're 9 healing this thing or 10 healing this thing, you only end up getting 2 of your healers on the main tank, and then the other remaining 8, potentially 7, go on the Hateful Strike tanks. In Classic, it seems like, let's pause actually before we go back a little bit. It seems like you won't need to maintain your health like this in Classic as a melee, but you may. So the way they're doing that is by dipping into the slime. This is the point of the slime mechanic for the the dungeon's concern. We're using the slime to be lower HP than the tank, who is going to soak a Hateful Strike. Again, healers are only healing the tanks. No other healing is necessary. This is a long pump fight, so don't fuck your ignites up. Don't fuck your mana up. Don't fuck your cooldowns up. Use your cooldowns kind of late and yet also twice if you need to. If you're in a situation where your fight is, 2 minutes and 20 seconds long, make sure you use both Earth Strikes. Blah, 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 right? Play well. And then in the very end, as 5% comes along, in Classic, again, this is going to be kind of easy because he's going to be lower armor. He's going to be getting chunked a good bit faster, but you never know. We have a fat ignite up here, so he's probably getting executed quite quickly. He enrages super hard. It sucks, right? Big painful. So he comes up big, and wham, and I think maybe Myosin used a last stand, something like that, right? But no big deal. So it dies. So here, move fast, get across the slime, don't worry about shit, don't worry about anything else. Look at the paladins, they're all still post-slimed. Every paladin moves in, this is Frogger. You can pop them with Bubble. So just have the paladins run around like this. Don't be near the paladins. When these things pop, you die if you're not a paladin, of course. But there's a little explosion. It's like a little arcane explosion thing. So you don't want to be on top of the paladin's head. But it's quite that simple. People who try to prove that they're tough or whatever, soloing Hogger, that's cool. Good for you. You don't even need to be watching this video in the first place, I assume. So no problem. Here you run for a while. Blah, blah, blah. We go for the slime. This you can see fat slime, right? So I can move back and then I blink this, right? Yeah. So be careful that you don't want to blink it from the ledge because that would probably aggro. There's some mobs over there. Levitate also works. Whatever, you can try to jump. Again, big characters. Maybe you got it. Maybe you don't. Don't know. A lot of people obviously low HP. Great time for percent food, for bandages. All good things. So when it's game time, casters and ranged are moving under this little lip because these next mobs have a knock up from distance. So eventually you'll see every caster jumps up under here. We turn to these A-bombs. They're same but different A-bombs. They knock you up, they do damage. That's kind of how an A-bomb works. But these guys from ranged, they will send a green slime at you and it'll slam you into the sky. You'll take a lot of fall damage when you come down. You'll see a couple of these actually happen. I think I actually get knocked into the sky at one point later, so you'll see what that looks like. Real quick thought, they're also pulsing out a poison volley. So if we go back a couple seconds, actually, if our damage were not as good, we would be 100% making sure to see X around the corner so that we're not tanking the poison volley from X the entire time that we're killing Skull, but the damage was really good here. So we knew that we were going to be able to kill X even before it got threatening, and you can see on the raid frames everybody's super high HP, right? No problem. So we do another set of A-bombs. This is another double. The doubles are really not that bad. It's the triple at the end that's a little bit more of a challenge. So here you tank one poison volley, do something to survive, right? I have a nature precast and popping another nature probably. Who the fuck knows, right? EPR, don't know. So we bring them both in. We're tanking it. Look how low everybody gets. Gets pretty sketchy. There's some people floating. There's somebody slow falling. If you combine the poison volley with taking a slow fall, or not slow falling rather, you're going to get fucked. So be careful. Here we go for, so here's the triple pull. This is only one. The other ones are doubles. What's interesting here is we want to use the alcove in the back that we came from to create multiple LOS spots so that we are not tanking the poison volley from all three mobs at once, because that's too much damage in this case, right? So, and also the raid's slightly in disarray at this state, right? So also we're only bringing one hunter. Maybe there's two. I think it's only one though. So we've got two mages assigned to pull with the hunter. They're going to be using blink, slow fall, whatever, just to be slightly safer than another class, and the whole 41-yard thing. So hunter's on the far left. I end up on the far right. Another mage gets the middle. He just shoots it. I go for a scorch, and I really want to respect the fuck out of this range. So I hit fire blast. That's fine. I get my counter spell. That's fine. But I'm holding my blink now, waiting for a very, very probable me being at the top of the threat table, the knockup. There it is, right? So if you look around, you can see up here, there's actually I could have hit that ledge and significantly shortened my height, but I didn't. I could have also been in the alcove and significantly shortened my height. But since I was part of the pull, I was in this open area. And this is what's very threatening and why you want to be choosing a mage. And I'm going for a nice slow click of slow fall, of course, to secure it. And actually you can see, let's move back a second, a nice clean shot as I'm coming down of what you're looking for. You want Skull to finish getting into the alcove where most of the healers are. You've got a tank for Moon, and over there to the right, there's a tank for X. Boom. And those guys are all LOS. The tank is taking damage. The healers who are healing that tank is taking damage from those poison volleys, but the majority of the raid is focusing on one at a time. So Skull dies, we'll bring Moon in, or something. Perhaps we'll bring X in, whatever. And you see anybody who feels like scared can use that pillar to just like jump around and protect themselves as best they can. Really diligent on the Noggin Foggers here. Don't fucking die. If you're going fast, you're not going to be able to lip the fall damage every time. You could. You can, once again, you can ask for people to wait 2 minutes because you don't have noggins up or something like that, but it'd be better to just go hard on noggins. So raid moves around, melee tank one poison volley at a time, they kill everything, we move it to the boss, this boss is chicken shit. You move it in a clockwise sort of arc is the idea, because it has a conal poison volley that, based on the number of people hit by the cone, will spawn adds. So you want to make sure that only the tank is the one who is hit by the volley. Pretty simple, realistically. If the tank doesn't lose aggro and is slowly moving backwards, just a slow, gentle S key around the room. And I'll pause when we see. Okay, cool. Let's move back, actually. So, you can see this skull goes out, and you can see on the DBM or whatever the fuck the bigwigs, RTM injected. So, this room is meant to be getting smaller in terms of usable area, but we kill this so fast, and Classic will be the same. You will kill this so fast that that mechanic will not happen. You won't have to struggle about where the fuck you're going to go, unless you're in a real shit guild. So as soon as somebody gets injected, they have a disease, and you can see on the red frames, he's got a disease. When the disease is cleansed, he's going to put out a poison that's going to slowly grow. And that's like, it's a poison that you can't stay in. You won't die instantly, but it creates an impasse, if you will, right? So one person has to be responsible for cleansing him. He has to move out, then get cleansed so that he drops it off, quote unquote, in a smart place, right? If he just got instantly cleansed where he is now, because some brainless fuck just disease cleansed him instantly, he'd drop something on the entire raid that would grow. This space would become completely unusable. It wouldn't be a problem. We just have to move a lot, and that would be a DPS loss. That sucks, right? So he fucks off. There he goes. Bye. He's out, and he actually cleanses himself because he's a paladin. Boom. You can see he drops it off over here on the right, and it'll slowly grow. There it is. You can see where it goes. Meanwhile, we've got a poison injection, or whatever the heck it's called. Not injection, poison cloud, from the boss, where that ad comes out. It only hits Myosin, it only hits the main tank, only one ad comes out, easy clap. Another injection over there on a melee, he runs away, he gets cleansed, he drops it over there. Boss is slowly moving, look at its HP, it's getting destroyed. So if you get a disease, you have to move off. As a mage, I would advise running first and then blinking back, but it's up to you. You can blink first and run back instead. Doesn't really matter. Cool. So he dies, and you can see there's quite a bit of the room is starting to get poisoned. It'll start to grow. The rooms will, that side of the room will start to fade, but at the same time, people are just running through these with hots and like. I mean, I tried to take no damage here, but that seemed unnecessary. You probably could have just taken a few ticks and gone for it anyway. So now that we've killed this boss, we're right into the next boss, which is great. Maybe you're wanting to wait 2 minutes because you use potion CDs or whatever. I don't know what the fuck you're up to. So you run on some pipes, and then you have a boss. So in the pipe, you're going to take a constant nature damage. If you're feeling cheap, you can just use a small nature protection potion, and you're only going to take damage most of the way through the pipe. Or sorry, you won't take damage most of the way through the pipe. You can also use a large nature protection potion and take absolutely no damage through the pipe. You can see the damage I'm taking in the nature aura here. Or you can just do what we did, which is completely ignore it entirely and just tank it with things like Renew. Kind of is what it is. Once again, a boss that isn't very challenging. I'm not even really going to talk about these fucking, like, the decimate mechanic. Who gives a shit? In Classic, that's a joke. You're not going to see it, again, unless you're in. Take a look at the timer right now. 1 minute and 45 seconds. Are you expecting to kill a boss in 100 seconds? That's like a random fucking trash mob? Come on, it's nonsense. Decimate doesn't exist. You don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. So there's zombies come out, some tank picks them up. Who cares? Ignore them. Kill the boss. He AoE fears. This boss is Magmadar. We run him around over there because the melee are trying to use the door to LOS. That's really just the rogues, though. In Classic, once again, the high-level solution is just don't bring rogues. Give them Fear Ward because there's only 3 of them. Your warriors can just use Death Wish and Zerker Rage, and you can tank every fear. You can see it coming out again in 5 seconds here. And when an AoE fear comes, let's see how prompt it is. There it is, right? 2 or 3 people running around. they could easily have Death Wish up. We can probably kill this boss inside of a Death Wish plus a Zerker Rage. So fear is a non-issue. This, these zombies are a non-issue. Who gives a fuck? Just kill it. Drops cool loot. I wanted to see if it dropped the offset thing, but don't lose your speedrun time for cool offset, right? There's a patrol in this hallway, so I'm pretty sure if you were to just blindly run like we did this time, every time, you might eventually get a patrol. Don't do that, because why kill it? I mean, or it's a small patrol. Kill it if you want to. Kill it if you're feeling like it's pressure to push your speedrun out. If it's a progression run, don't know. So we split it up. We go ranged on the left, melee on the right. Kind of interesting because in Classic, maybe a lot of people have not been running very caster melee balanced comps, so the left side would fall behind very significantly in terms of damage. I wouldn't do anything about that. I would say, who gives a shit? Just send them over to the left anyway. Have melee be cognizant of the fact that you're going to have to just stop damage, and there's no problem with that at all. As a melee, you can just push the mob to 20%, 18%, whatever, execute it once, bam, it's dead. There's no sense doing some fucking PhD math where you send exactly 3 melee over to the left to make it work, blah, 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 fuck that, right? So we have to kill these at the exact same time. You can see actually at this angle, there's a little lightning tether. Sorry for the FPS again. To these guys, there's a lightning tether on the other side too. When they both break at the same time, you engage Thaddeus, the last boss of this wing. So the mechanic that happens with these dudes, aside from the fact that they hit a little bit hard, is facing the direction he's facing now, or actually facing any direction, they will knock the tanks back. What you're meant to be doing is switching your tanks. So your tank should be standing right here as he tanks. He's going to get knocked back to the other platform. At the same time, the tank from the other platform, facing mirrored, is going to get knocked back to your platform. The tanks will swap. Obviously, they should be in D stance, slap a taunt out, good to go. You'll see what that looks like. These guys are pretty low HP by comparison. They're really just like buy-in bosses or whatever. So nothing particularly crazy. There's other mechanics once again, but who gives a shit about them? I don't know what they are. Don't fuck it up. Like, I'm not sure, what happens when you make some of these basic mistakes, but why bother asking? I'm sure we'll get some nice Twitch clips of some guilds that we don't like failing miserably and finding these edge cases, but ultimately we may as well just optimize how the fuck to do this shit right, which is more or less this. So as a caster, you're going hard as you can because you know that the melee are probably going to be much faster than you. Every now and then, try to check. I take a quick check. The melee are ahead of us, but we're pumping pretty hard. Everything's fine. Nobody stops. Boom, together. Maybe your melee are much more ahead of our casters. Don't know. So, interesting to note here. We had a bug at one point where, despite definitely killing them, and they definitely died together, and they both emoted, the chain link. This is not what happened this run, but it had happened in the past. The chain link did not break. We jumped down as if nothing was wrong. And the chain link, this is one of those edge cases, right? It didn't break, shit went bad. So we stop here for a second because we want to confirm that the chain link actually does break. But to be honest, we actually just got antsy anyway and jumped, which isn't great, but it seemed like it was fine. I think the behavior was different when it bugged. Also, it's gone now, right? So make sure you're in place by the time the boss arrives. First person to be hit, you can see this is not a tank. This is proxy aggro. This has a tendency to take lives. Don't be close if you don't want to be hit. If you're, I'm sure he probably crit Bracken here, so I bet he got a nice fat enrage proc, but if you're a clothy, you can see how most of the clothies are up here back against the ledge. Also, don't fall. Another situation where it's slime, you should use a slow fall. I use a slow fall. Some people use noggins, whatever. You can use a fucking sprint, whatever. Something like that, right? So, at some point previously, somebody put it in the chat, minus goes left, plus goes right. That's it. So, actually what's a pretty significant thing here that happens is mages running a pretty solid ignite, or actually casters in general pre-casting their first polarity tick. When people properly check their debuff, they have either minus or plus. They go to the either left where minus goes or to the right where plus goes. You get a stacking damage increased based on how many other people successfully failed passed the check rather. You can pre-cast that tick, and as long as your spell goes off after the tick has gone out, you will do an increased amount of damage. So this is pretty solid implications for Ignite, where we get our PIs, we put our combustions up, and we're pre-casting an Ignite into the polarity tick that's going to hit for a huge amount of damage. Luckily, the tanks are doing a bunch of damage as well, so they have a big fat threat lead, and we're going to get a big, nice, huge Ignite, and we're going to kill the boss really fast with a few amount of switches. Meanwhile, there's a lot of chain lightnings going out. Just flash heal those people, Like Priest will just target the people who are chain lightning during this phase, and they will just flash heal them. If you get low and scared, you GNPP. You can you can watch the raid frames if you want to see what that looks like. So as we're pumping here, you can see the Pyroblast goes off, wham, big crit. The polarity tick had just previously gone off. I know it's kind of small in terms of how I arrange my debuffs here. It's my bad, whatever. But I have 19 because I'm standing on 19 people who have all positive debuffs. And that means 190% increased damage or something like that. I don't know, maybe 280, I'm not sure. Whatever, mechanics, right? I had crit for 12k. Everybody else crit pretty hard. You can see in a second, bam, 15k ignite, right? We all crit pretty hard because we all pyroblasted like that, and we didn't run a shit ignite. So now we're just pumping. Now you're just sitting there. Maybe you'll get chain lightning randomly. Maybe it'll do some pushback. Maybe you have a GMPP. Maybe not. Whatever. So I resisted a chain lightning, pretty fat. It's a regular chain lightning, like it's just going to hit 3 people. It's the shaman chain lightning, if you will. So nothing particularly exciting about it in terms of, do or don't stack. So here comes the polarity tick again. You can precast again. Here we go. Boom. Increased damage. One thing that was interesting there is you have to note there is a phase, despite the fact that everybody did it right. We all hit the polarity properly. There is a point where you don't have the buff because the polarity is waiting to tick, so you're not increasing your damage. During that time, as a mage, I know I said this was non-micro, but this is so important that it becomes macro. You're not allowing your ignite to drop because that would reset. You would have to be forced to reset a polarity tick ignite. So if I go back a couple seconds, during that time, here comes a polarity shift. Polarity shift goes out. I'm pretty much just spamming Scorch. I actually go ahead and I cancel this Fireball because I want a Fire Blast to make sure that the massive ignite that we had doesn't drop for a shit ignite while we don't have the buff. Some Warlock crits for 21k. Pretty sick. He precasted. That's how you do it. You gotta be a big Chad. We kill this super fast. Everybody's pumping. Obviously, if you don't kill this quite as fast, you switch more times. But if you take a look at the polarity shift, let's go back a little bit. So when the polarity shift happens, here it is. So here comes a polarity shift now, right? Boom. People just run through the boss. If you react instantly, take a look at the polarity tick now. The polarity tick is your timer on failing. So this whole like run around the ring boss and a ring around a rosy type shit, right? That's decadent. That doesn't happen anymore. Just run through the middle. Just instead of being max melee distance like you have normally been on Classic, just be minimum melee distance. Run right through the middle and go to the other side. If you eat parries, you eat parries. So it goes. So we kill this boss, no problem. So immediately following this, though, you're gonna have to spread out and tank the duration of your debuff because it's still ticking. So you see these ticks happen, right? As these ticks go out, if you are a plus who stands near a minus or whatever, minus, plus, etc., you will take damage. So we're kind of weaving in between ticks everybody who's going to get close to this teleporter. So it's kind of like the idea is just sort of don't BM your homies. If everybody bum rushed this thing, we would die. You can see a couple people on the raid frames actually get really low because people are not spreading out properly. It's probably greed. If 10 people all went for this teleporter at once and 5 were minus and 5 were plus, all 10 would die. So that would be pretty stupid. Here, as soon as we got in with some healer, we just went, and this is the end of the wing. So after you get through that teleporter, you've really actually done the wing. You can, if you wanted to, just spread out as soon as this wing dies. Maybe you're just going to do loot, maybe you're not speedrunning, whatever, and just tank this debuff down for the next 30 seconds, because that's really what it is. And then just everybody can go right-click on the teleporter per normal, and that would be fine. Or if you're feeling speedrunning again, you want to do the whole thing with the weave. So you see the animation go off. Now it's safe to click because no one's getting killed at this point. Animation's coming soon. You spread. There goes the animation. You can go for some clicks. Animation's coming soon at some point. Let it go. And then you go for some clicks to make sure no one takes damage. And that's it. That's the end of that wing.